Hello and welcome to this week's Finding the Why. This week we are going to be discussing burnout, and I know it's a very relative subject to all of us. We all have different experiences, but as creatives it is very real, and obviously being freelancers, as the majority of us are, it can take on a whole new meaning. So if you're wondering what is Finding the Why, Finding the Why is a community of artists coming together to build relationships and disrupt the elite systems for artists, by artists, professional artists, Kirstie Tebbs, and myself, Sarah Hardy. We have weekly live streamed podcasts with strong opinions, honest talk, and guests ranging from professional artists to many other creatives throughout the industry. We cover predjudism to bananss duct tape to walls and exposés. We do weekly art challenges, which are always a bit of a giggle. Current news, special guests, as I say. And this week, please just sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. So just to kick off, and just for you, Kirstie, I have found out that there is one hell of a day today, and it just happens to be, can I have a drum roll, please?
Wait, let's get a mic down there.
It's Chili Dog Day.
Yeah.
It's also National Tiger Day, and it's Lipstick Day as well. And that's just such a shame, because we could have done challenges in lipstick, but I don't actually own any lipstick at all.
Neither.
So there you go. So tell me, Kirstie, how's your week been?
My week has been so up and down, as you know, and it's been you know what, it has been close to a burnout on the Sunday. So most of this week has actually been me having a week off and setting everything on automatic, doing one or two bits that I need to do, such as artist talks to be recorded. And today I drove down to Kent to drop off artwork at a gallery and drove all the way back up again, which was about 3 or 4 hours of my life, but I enjoy driving. So yeah, my week has actually been pretty slow, and I'm happy for it. I really am. How has your week been?
Yeah, I'm pleased you managed to slow down, because I know, going at 100 miles an hour constantly, it's a road to ruin, really. But my week's been okay, thank you. I've just been trying to get myself organised. Obviously, I'm off on a wee trip at the weekend, so just trying to tie up loose ends, doing a bit more work than usual, just so I don't have to think quite as much. Obviously, when you're self-employed, you're kind of always a bit switched on, and there are always emails and meetings to do, but I'm trying to minimize the effect when I'm away. And yeah, I've done a little bit of painting this week, which has been great. I have to say, I've really missed my painting, and discussing a commission. I've been waiting for this World War II annual to come to me, and this guy wants some illustrations put into it. So it's kind of going to be quite a special job. And apart from that, yeah, there's been 1,000,001 other things, therapy stuff as well. So it's been busy.
Yeah.
But productive, and looking forward to the break, I think.
Yes. A well-needed break.
Yes, yeah, give my joints a break as well, I think so.
Yes, and a little tidbit for you all to get excited about: we've started working on a theme tune for our podcast. We don't know what's going to come out of it or how long it's going to be, but it's going to be great.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't wait. So, should we get stuck into this week's news?
Yes, let's.
So basically, what we're reviewing here is, as we said, the theme of this week is burnout, and it's relevant to most of us in one way or another, although our experiences of it will differ slightly, because we all have different jobs, we have different lifestyles, we have, different people in and out of our lives, and slightly different requirements to our days. So yeah, how we actually experience burnout can be very, very different. But this BBC news article, it's called "Why We May Be Measuring Burnout All Wrong," is really, really quite enlightening. And basically what it's saying is that there are, I think the stats were there are only really kind of a small fraction of us who experience true burnout. But this is according to the Maslach burnout inventory. And the Maslach burnout inventory, it measures different areas of your life, and it grades the answers. So to get absolute true burnout, you need to be kind of getting negative scores basically on all 3 of these areas. And yeah, what we're looking for is basically, you know, when you're absolutely exhausted and you lack energy, you lack the motivation, your success and your efficacy goes down, and you're finding like every area of your life is affected. The 3 areas that they actually look at are people who are overextended. So you're looking at people who really, really love their job and they put their heart and soul into it, but they are completely overworked. Now, I think we've seen that, you know, quite a lot during lockdown, especially with, NHS staff who are like overextended above and beyond, really. They've got people who are kind of ineffective, so not fully engaged in their work. They now lack the excitement in their work, and they solely do it to pay the bills, and so they just don't have the motivation to show up and give it their all. But yeah, work can get like that sometimes, and you just like, you sit there knowing you should do something and kind of thinking, well, why bother? Basically. And then they've got the disengaged, which I guess maybe I've overlapped there, but it's when you develop that really cynical attitude. You don't particularly care for your work, and you stall it, and you see no point in connecting with your workmates or your clients. And yeah, I suppose what they're now saying is like burnout is a combination of the 3, and it's no place to be, I suppose. But yeah. Do you want to take over for a while?
Yeah, I found this article really, really interesting, especially with those 3 criteria needing to be negative to experience true burnout. Whenever I've had it, I've always made sure I've gone to a doctor or something who can actually tell me specifically if it is or not and ways to go forward. And reading it actually sounds like when you hit burnout or going close to it, it's almost like a slippery slope into depression, because if you don't know much about depression, there are 2 reasons for it. One is chemicals imbalance, which is where you need the tablets, and then you've got the situational depression. I'm not a psychologist or a doctor, just putting that one out there, but it's where therapy really helps, because there's situations in your life where you need to change or talk through or get a further understanding to be able to change it. And so yeah, I mean, this article is just so interesting, especially when it says 2/3 of the people that they did the study on said that lockdown made their burnout worse, people who experience and medically have on their records burnout. And because you are from home, where you go to work for a 6-hour shift, you go, oh, time to go home, and you leave it all there. When you're at home, you're just all of a sudden, your computer or your phone is there, you just, oh, I'll quickly spend 5 minutes doing this, or I'll just quickly finish up this, or do a couple of these bits while I put the kids to bed, or do dinner, or things like that. It's so easy to get into that routine, and all of a sudden you're doing 12-hour days instead of 6-hour days. You put more pressure on yourself than what's actually necessary, because you can't always find that off switch, because everything is just so close and just in reach, and you either love your job or you feel like you're compelled, you have to do it. And as freelancers, this will hit us hard, and we are probably more likely to get it, as well as other occupations such as chefs over Christmas, or NHS staff, especially during pandemics and certain times of the year, because we are all balancing our jobs with our lives, or multiple jobs with long hours and very little sleep. So yeah, it was really eye-opening.
Yeah, I think it does, to be aware of where the pressures are coming from as well. As we all know, they can be very extrinsic, coming from bosses or people who we've got contracts with, or any, or family even. But also the pressure can come from within us. Yeah. And very often when we're pushing ourselves, I mean, it's very good, there's nothing wrong at all to be ambitious and to be driving forward and to be focused, but you've got to know that fine line. And I think, sometimes you do it because you feel like you have to prove yourself, you want to be the best, although what is the best anyway? You feel like you have to wear all hats, especially being self-employed, where you have to do any number of tasks to the best of your ability, like the marketing, like the accounting, like producing the goods, like the postage and packaging, and organizing the exhibition or whatever. And it does encompass long hours, but I think what we're saying is kind of long term. It doesn't work. It should be like a series of short sprints almost. And you cannot live life at that kind of intensity all of the time, because it leads to nowhere, and you're spinning all these plates, and at the time you're like, wow, look at this, I'm really going for this, and then all of a sudden the plates start to drop, and then you're like, oh, and then I suppose even that kind of affects your confidence and stuff. But I mean, with regards to this, as Kirstie said, it isn't just about kind of recognizing this, it's and thinking, oh, I need a break. Sometimes you've got to review your life and kind of think about what changes you may or may not need to make, kind of looking at your relationships, kind of any toxicities within your life. And yeah, going on holiday, it's a bit of a phenomenon, really, isn't it? It's like, oh yeah, work really hard, and then yes, I'm off for 2 weeks and I can just totally chill, and then you come back and you get a bit down because you're back to normality, and then it's like, oh, that pressure's building again. So it's about making lifestyle changes, really, when you notice things going wrong, because it's not just the emotional side of it, it's very much physical and physiological at the end of the day as well, when it gets to the worst case scenario. So
yeah, I think that's really true. And we can both speak from experience with this sort of thing. I mean, my burnout is always, it hits really hard, and with anxiety and depression it hits even harder, because you get that very slippery slope of a burnout to depression, and then your anxiety starts really playing up because you're not being as efficient or as useful or doing as much as you usually do, and it just becomes a massive cycle. And having several jobs, Christmas is always my worst times. December I don't speak to people, because doing my chef's job, I was doing 60 hours a week. I was doing my artwork and art business. At the time I'd be doing university, and that'd be when all the deadlines were, and then dealing with family, working out when I was going to see them and take time out. And I'm hoping this year, where I've just got the gallery and as an artist to worry about, I'm hoping that's lifted this year, and I'll be able to slow myself down and just be able to think, okay, let's give myself 2 weeks off and not get anxious and worried about this 2 weeks. It doesn't matter if an email doesn't get answered in those 2 weeks. It doesn't matter if there's a comment that I haven't reacted to in those 2 weeks, or it doesn't matter if there hasn't been a post uploaded that 2 weeks. It will all be exactly the same when you come back to it later on. And I usually get it hit probably 3 or 4 times a year, because I run and I don't slow down, which is something that I am beginning to learn now, and getting nudges from other people, just going, look, just slow it down for a couple of days, take a break, because having a child in the daytime that I'm a stay-at-home mum for, and then so all I have is my evenings and weekends to do stuff. I don't tend to take evenings and weekends off, which I should. And I am beginning to now, and it's all a learning curve for me, and it's going to get easier to be able to just break away for a day or two, or just an evening off to just go to the movies, have a meal out, or something like that.
Yeah, I think it's knowing when to say no as well, and that it's perfectly okay to say no. I know, as you know, we're both nice people and we're both very amenable, and sometimes even when you're stretched, if somebody asks something of you, you think, oh, can I fit this in? And then you go, yeah, of course I can, of course I'll do that for you, course, you know.
Just go, it's a later problem how to fit it in, but we'll do it.
Yeah. But you know, it's a blessing and a curse, but yeah, it's okay to say no. And I'm talking to you and I'm talking to myself and anybody else who suffers that. But yeah, I realize when I'm getting burnt out because I get weepy. I get down, and I get very down on myself. I start doubting my decisions, and usually when I stop, I get ill. And it's almost like, you know, you're a train in motion, you've been going 100 miles an hour, and then all of a sudden you pull on the brakes, and then all the carriages behind you just batter you from behind. And it's just like, it's taken a while to learn. You know, sometimes you have to think quick and to act quick and to keep the momentum going, but as I say, not all the time. But it's when your productivity starts to drop. For instance, I'll give you the scenario that I was in. I should have known better in my job. I was a therapist. I was running my own practice. So I'd walk into town every day. I'd go to work. I'd go training in lunchtime, walk back to work. I'd work until I finished work. I'd walk home, and then I would have a quick bite to eat. And then I would go and work on my art until maybe 1, 2 in the morning. Add to that, I often dedicated like 2 half days to another clinic, and I had a remote clinic as well to attend and to, you know, to treat people. And yeah, and it's like that constant cycle. You know exactly what's coming. You don't know how you're going to feel on the day, because it's kind of a bit like that.
Yeah.
But it's that constant cycle, and it's just like, keep the momentum going, keep it going. And I remember one day, and I get so tired, I'd actually start to feel physically sick and not know where to put myself. And I came home at like 3 p.m. one day and went to bed, and I didn't get up until the next day. And it's like them, you know, it's like real grogginess. You might open your eyes, but you're like, no, I can't do this anymore. Just like shut the door and keep everybody out. But it's, you know, it is a thing. We've all got very different experiences. I don't have kids, and it's probably just as well, you know, kind of in that scenario. But yeah, I'd say everybody's got different dynamics in their lives, different relationships, different things that they have to do, you know, different people relying on them and stuff. So yeah, it'd be interesting to know if anybody else has got any stories of them burning out and, you know, the consequences. Obviously we don't want it all to be negative, because, you know, it's about realizing these things before they get really bad and being able to stop it and do something about it. I hold my hands up, you know, as a therapist, I should have known better. But sometimes you just get swept up in it. So yeah, I am human. Honestly.
You do. And I think that's actually a really good thing to hit upon. Burnout is not just mental, it's also got so many physical aspects to it, because your mind and body are all entwined. And it's why you see usually November, December is some of the busiest times for celebrity, because of that Christmas period. They work and work and work and work. Some of them work 30 days straight because they just have so much booked, and they'll do several stuff in the same day, which is why you usually see in the news January, February time is usually quite a peak for celebrity deaths that are like 50, 60 plus, because they've worked so hard and they've just had a week off. So your body is not meant to be able to do that. It's not meant to just work so hard and constant. You need your time off. And you see those articles of people young who end up having heart problems because they've worked so hard so young, because they've done this grind thinking it will pay off, but actually it is very detrimental to your body. So you have to look after yourself, both physically and mentally, by slowing down and having that day off and being okay, just once a week, do nothing, do something for yourself.
I think it's about working smart, not hard. I know it's been kind of a big thing. It's almost been like a brag to say how many hours you worked or how little sleep you actually had. And it's like, that's not the way real life works. That's not the way your body works. It's not a brag. It's you're actually doing yourself a whole disservice. As I say, so it's kind of waking up and kind of realizing that there are areas in your life that you need to readdress. So we've kind of come up with some advice, and it's basically experiential. So take it as it comes. You do not have to take it on board, but there may be kind of key points that you think, actually, you know what, I never ever thought about that, and maybe that this applies to me, and maybe this is something that I need to think about. So I'll start off, and then should we take turns?
Yeah, why not?
Okay. So one of the key points is having too many streams going at once. And really you need to kind of sit down and think about what's really essential. There are some things that you really might want to do, but they're not going to serve you in a particular way. And so therefore, by narrowing down your streams, you can kind of apply and focus more on the ones that are actually going to bring you the most fulfillment and the most results. And in that way, you're actually going to be achieving far more than kind of, when you get a cake and you make too little icing and you try to ice the cake, and all of a sudden you can see the sponge through the icing because you spread it too thin. I don't know what kind of analogy that was, but
I like that. We're branding that. That is your analogy. It's the Sarah analogy.
There's a whole host of Sarahsm, seriously. But as well, all this said, don't be scared to kind of rotate things, day by day, week by week, if that works. Try and find out what works for you, and don't kind of be scared to kind of allocate time as well, or kind of allocate things to people. If somebody offers to help, accept it. It's not kind of admitting defeat. We're all here to support each other in that. And I'm sure there are many ways that you support other people as well. So that's just by the by.
And organization, I think this is a very key part. You're not going to remember it all up here, and if you do, I am so impressed. Please tell me your secrets, because it is hard. You've got to make sure you allocate your time wisely. Be realistic. Don't go, I can do that in an hour, and then plan so much, because that hour could actually end up being 6, but you didn't realize it. So spread it out. You don't have to do everything all at once. And delegate. You don't have to do everything. I can be an absolute control freak sometimes, as Sarah probably knows. But you have to remember to give tasks away, because there's no reason that you need to do everything. You need that little bit of time to yourself. Just go off, forget about that task until it's done. Keep a diary. I think I have about 4 different calendars to try and remember everything that is plastered on my wall. So as soon as I wake up, I can see my 4 calendars. What have I got on? What have I got to try and do? All color coded. I call it sad, but it's actually very helpful. And super map. This is Sarah's favorite thing to do, and I think she's dead proud of what she does every week for the podcast.
It's so helpful. It's revolutionized my life, basically. it's mind mapping, but it's super mapping, because that's just another brand of mind mapping. But what you do, it's basically like, you know, what you would call a spidergram in old language. And basically you have the main circle. So I tend to super map my week. So I have my week plan in the middle, and then I have branches out going Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and off Monday I'll have various branches of what I've got to do, Tuesday the same. And yeah, you know, I've used it for so many different elements of my life, but organization wise, I cannot top it. It just helps me kind of dejunk my brain. It reassures me that I'm not going to forget anything, that everything's going to get done, and it actually makes me more efficient, and it gives me a timeline and priority order to work through as well. So even things like, I don't know, you know, the regular things like first thing in the morning, I'll walk my dog, and then I'll do a workout, and then I'll sit down and have a coffee, because that's when I need it. And then I'll sit down and do some podcast work or some admin work, and then and then after that I might have treatments or whatever. So yeah, I cannot like top that at the moment. There may be something comes along that that makes me even, you know, even prouder. But yeah, I definitely try that. I can certainly kind of put some advice in a link below this, if anybody's interested in kind of that kind of organization.
And if you still haven't caught up with what Supermap is, just think spider diagram. And we will put on a post on Instagram, the advice in a Supermap, so you know what a Supermap is, and you've got all your advice just there, all in one place.
Next thing is kind of be aware of your emotions and where they're actually coming from. You know, I know you kind of might think, oh God, I'm really angry, or I'm really pissed off, or oh my goodness, you know, I'm so happy in this moment. But very few of us stop to question why. And everything gets a bit jumbled. So sometimes you'll be feeling like the wrong emotion at the wrong time. And it's actually hindering your productivity, and it's actually really, really draining on you. So kind of maybe thinking about keeping a journal, and just, you know, I think what that's really good for is kind of tracking your discipline and tracking any patterns, any behavioral patterns, anything that triggers you. You know, these are all going to be really, really helpful when it comes to making decisions about actually what's serving you and what isn't serving in your life, and what you potentially need to cut. And it will serve you as much professionally as it will personally, because obviously you try to keep them separate, but one will impact the other. And what you don't want is to get so bogged down at work with all the work stuff that your family life starts suffering. It's about balance at the end of the day, and trying to keep, you know, a road on each side that's kind of, it's going to complement each other, and you're not going to get one overtaking. I mean, obviously some days you can't help it, but as I say, what we're trying to avoid is that kind of mass overlap where everything just kind of goes to pot eventually, and yeah, you don't know whether you're coming or going.
I think that's so true, understanding your emotions, because most people say they didn't realize burnout was coming, it just hit. But actually, if you start understanding the way you feel, you will start understanding what point is the actual decline that you're going to start having, which is whether it is you start get weepy, or you're starting to get overtired, or anything like that. You got to know your limits, and you got to start understanding at what point do you need to just say enough is enough and go away for a little bit. Which is a lot harder than you think it is, because emotions are incredibly complicated, but it's really important to start understanding.
Yeah, absolutely.
And be artistic. We are creatives. We are not made to not make art for a long period of time, or just not do something creative. We all find ourselves in the ruts where we are going, oh, I've just had no time to make artwork, I haven't done it for a month or two. Well, get a small sketchbook, get a pen and paper that you carry with yourself. Just do a little doodle, make an idea. Even writing can be creative, whether you're writing your emotion or just doing a small sketch, doing ideas, and keep up your creative practice. You do have time. You just need to make that time. And we all have set hours in the day. We all have the same set hours in the day. And you just need to try and find when you can make that drawing. I know myself, I spent ages not doing any art. And then all of a sudden I got my air dry clay out. And I made so much art within the next 24 hours. And I realized, well, actually, this was me suppressing my creative practice for so long because I was too busy focused on doing all the writing and everything like that, that I actually needed to do it. And I needed to get it out my system to be able to focus more and be happy with myself.
Yeah, I get really annoyed when I haven't done art or art as we know it for so long, and it's just like you kind of, the less you do it, the more scared you get of it. I find I get this real fear of going back to the easel or getting my oil paints out or whatever if I haven't been there for a while. And sometimes you just have to make it easy for yourself. Leave it set up so you can, if you've got a spare hour or so, you can actually just go. And even if it's just something really small, then you can just go and get on with it. If you've got kids, sit with the kids, arrange like a crafting session, an art session, do some collage or some papier-mâché or some drawing. Even when they're busy, you can be guiding them, but you can be doodling your own ideas as well. That's kind of a really simple way. And you never know, because kids don't tend to care really what comes out. You might even get ideas from them. You've just got to be open to these things. Ideas just come when you least expect them. I think the harder you push sometimes, the more we resist that kind of that free flow. But yeah, I think, working with kids really, really does have its benefits. And kind of that said, don't forget to play, which, you see kids playing all the time. And I think I made this point before, as adults, we're kind of conditioned out of the fact that it's healthy to play. It's all about being responsible and, oh, no, adults don't play. Well, why? Why don't they play? It's like really good for you. And it's really good to laugh and giggle and have fun. And that can be as much as you need to go, you know what, I'm really in the mood now to go and create or to go and draw, to get myself outside and take my sketchbook, or, change your medium. If you're stuck in a rut with a medium, change it. Get messy. Don't, I'm talking really messy. Get the clay out. Paint with your fingers, paint with your hands. I don't know, there's a guy who paints with his head, isn't there? Have you seen that one on Instagram? He's bloody good as well.
I love it. It's amazing.
But there is absolutely nothing wrong with art for art's sake. Absolutely nothing. And it's just like, not everything has to have a deep and meaningful meaning behind it. It's kind of, that's stilted sometimes and contrived. And, life's about being. We are here to create. Not everything has to examine the ins and outs of a fart. I'm sorry about that, but it's just like, as I say, just play. People need to play.
I think that's so true. And especially with kids, it does not matter what age they are, they can make art. I've been doing it with my daughter since she was 6 months old. Corn flour and a little bit of food colouring, or with berries, something that they can eat because it's going to go in their mouths anyway. And you see such purity in their artwork because they're trying to work out the curiosity in them, the textures, the colours, the what if this goes here, what if I do that there. And as adults, I think we need to start doing that again, because there is that sense of curiosity. What am I doing? What does this do? And how do I do it? And it brings so much ideas when you least expect it, whether it's with edible paints or clay or anything like that. It's just so needed, and it lifts up your spirits a little bit. You can walk away and go, this artwork was terrible, and have a whole giggle at yourself, and then go back and do and prove to yourself that you can do something good if that's the way you want to do it.
Sometimes the brain just needs like uncluttering and just like all that gunk that you hold up there, because you take on so much. Sometimes you just need to let it all go.
Yes.
And play is perfect for that. So next point is having time out. So by time out, I don't necessarily just mean going away for a break or having a holiday or anything like that, but just little things that you can incorporate into your daily lifestyle, just to give you 5-10 minutes, half an hour, whatever you've got. So things I'm suggesting are things like yoga, meditation. Take your sketchbook around with you, just a little pocket-sized one, and get yourself outside, sketch people, sketch the trees, whatever. Being in nature is, as you know, always wonderful and always great and really healthy. But yeah, wherever you are, there will be usually something to sketch. And the beauty about drawing is you can make anything beautiful. It doesn't matter what you're looking at. I think at one point I went to sketch shipyards or something, and I got there and thinking, why on earth would I want to sketch a shipyard? But actually, when you start producing the art, you're like, actually, there is something strangely beautiful about this, and it being an expression. Go for a walk, if you're struggling with a piece, and I know sometimes some of us get stuck when we're working on art, and if we're particularly tired and we don't really know where to go with this piece of art. I've done it with some of my oil portraiture pieces, and it is just a case of, I want to walk away, let the layers dry, and when I go back to it, I will have such a changed perspective, and I'm like, I'll look at it and go, actually, yes, that's wrong, that bit's fine, this bit needs like a little bit more of this color or whatever. And it's that process of not overworking it as well, which is healthy. And change tack. Yeah, it's just like, there's nothing wrong with like leaving a piece for a little while and going back to it. Have a few pieces on the go at once. I find that quite helpful. And then it keeps the interest levels up. It provides a bit of diversity, and yeah, it's just like it avoids a bit of some of the monotony, I guess.
I think they're very good advice, especially with having a little bit for self-satisfaction, whether it's meditation, like with you, what you do is the walks in nature with meditation and art. Our guest last week, Alfie Joey, spends 10-15 minutes every morning learning French, and I don't know what I do for 5 minutes a day. Yeah, probably not a lot. But it's really important to be able to take a little bit of time out for that self-satisfaction and to declutter your mind, to get you ready for the day. And living life for you. So don't worry about the pressure from whoever, whatever, whether it's yourself, an external person, or whether it's just because you feel pressured. Don't discard it, because that pressure will do nothing positive. It might do that thing of making you pump out the work, but a lot of the time, if you're doing it under pressure, it's not going to be nearly as good as when you do it relaxed and in your own pace. And be kind to yourself. At the end of the day, if it takes time, it takes time. You have no one to answer to other than yourself, and even then, you don't have yourself to answer to. If you're being kind to yourself and allowing yourself to be able to do what you need to do, and do work that you love. You don't want to do this slogging it for the next 50 years, 20 years, however long of your life, your working life, that you have. It's not worth it. Find something that you do love, even if you do have to stay with the thing that pays the bills. Outside of that, what do you love doing? Do you love to paint? Do you love to help people? Do you love something creative? Do you love doing an hour's session a week for a workshop for other people? If you love it, it's not work. It's not. And I mean, I guess that's what we're all striving for in life, is to be able to work in something that we love, so that it doesn't feel like we're working all the time. Yeah. And getting rid of everything toxic. We've said it a little bit earlier, but I mean, I've spent so long getting rid of everything toxic in my life, because it's not needed, and it's a lot of what gets me down. And all I want in my life now is positivity and cheer, and other people cheerleading rather than just myself. Having that network where I can go, I'm feeling down today, or I'm overstressed, or look, this situation has happened in my life. And for them to just go, okay, cool. So what are we going to do? What are we going to do to combat all of that? Or if I have something amazing going on, oh, I'm here in this exhibition, or I've done this little thing today, and I've got them going, yes, queen, go on, you can do it. You need that support network in your life. You don't want the toxic people. You don't want the people who are going to bring you down and start doubting yourself or worry or anything like that. Is so important.
Yeah, absolutely. And having healthy boundaries. I think we need to have healthy boundaries with ourselves as much as other people. So maybe kind of not, as I say, not overextending ourselves, and not kind of making a deal with ourselves not to just say yes, just for the sake of yes, just for keeping somebody else happy. It's not worth it in the long run. Albeit, yeah, you know, it's good to see other people happy, and it's good to be of service, but it doesn't mean you have to completely expend yourself in order to do so. You've just got to be a bit more mindful with how you do it and how much time you dedicate to it, because you are really, really important. And if you're miserable, it's likely that you're going to make everybody else miserable anyway. So
that is very true. And that toxic stuff you're getting rid of, you become that toxic thing. So definitely have those boundaries, and make sure you have it spelt out for yourself and for others what your boundaries are. Say the no, say that's it. And even if you have commissions and stuff, if you make it clear if you're going to do changes or anything like that, because you're always going to get those people who are trying to get discounts or for free, or do, oh, just one more change please, oh, and then one more change, oh, and then one more change. You need to have boundaries. You have to go, look, no, or whatever works best for you, to just be able to stop yourself from burning out over that one little thing.
Yeah. And I think talking's really, really important. You know, the art of communication. You tend to find that not everybody is like really hot on the nuances of communication, but we'll keep it simple for today and just kind of say, don't be frightened to express yourself. If something's not working for you, something needs to change, don't be frightened to say so. Obviously, don't throw a hissy fit. That's kind of not the way to express yourself. That's when things really explode. But yeah, there's the art of diplomacy, which comes in hand with communication, and compromise. You know, I think there is something to be said for the middle ground and being able to talk diplomatically and find at that point at which you can both compromise, meet happily in the middle, and so you both get something from it. If this is a partnership, or you know, you might even need to compromise with your own ideals. I know some of us set our goals right up there, and we get disappointed when we don't meet them by tomorrow, and that is completely unrealistic when you think about, you know, how much work goes into these things. But yeah, have that realism. Don't stop forgetting, verbalize, and don't stop creating as well. It's all an important part of expressing ourselves as human beings. We have this unique ability to take any form of medium or speech, or you know, writing, whatever, and be able to put something out there that is entirely us, entirely unique, and that is a real gift as a human. And so yeah, it makes sense to use it.
Yes, and balance, get that life work balance. I mean, I've spent many years where work has been a priority and everything outside of work is on the back burner. It just happens when it happens. Like it can get to a point where I don't, let alone see them, let alone speak to them, my family for months because they're just on a back burner, and that's not my morals, but it just happens. So you need to make sure you do get that balance where you can have the balance between work, home life, play, commitments, nutrition, sleep, music, relationships, all of that. You need to find a balance. Even me and my partner, we can get into it because I put my work before our relationship sometimes, but you just have to remember that it is a balancing act, and you do need to make sure your outside of work life is fulfilled as well as your in work life, because otherwise, if you just keep putting work first, you will lose everything outside of there to a point where there probably is only work left. So you need to make sure you have that balance. Make sure you take the time for family, for a little bit of downtime, even if it's just for a cup of tea and a jigsaw puzzle. You need to be able to have that time to relax and live, because life is not about working. It's a man-made construct. For primates, life is all about procreating, eating, sleeping, and death. I mean, everything else is all man-made. So don't let the patriarchy con you into work is everything, because it's not.
Nor is money.
No. That's a whole of a rant for me.
Society, unfortunately, but yeah, it's there is so much more to life. And if you were on your deathbed and there was absolutely nothing that they could do, no matter how much money you had, you'd certainly sit up and realize that it was like, you know, a lot of time wasted worrying and kind of grinding yourself into the ground for nothing, which is really sad, because some people do end up like that. But I certainly don't want to be that way.
I think that's a good point. I mean, well, when I die, I don't want to look back and just say, well, what have I done? All I've done is work. When I look back, I want to think of all the memories that I've had with my family, with myself, with my partner, and everything in between. I don't want to just think, oh, all I've done is put on this, and this. I want really, I think my partner sums it up really, really well. All he wants from life is happiness. That's his only goal. And that is one of the most humble goals a person can get, because at the end of the day, you don't need money, you don't need work. Well, you do because the system says you do, but if you have just enough to live off of, everything else is just gravy.
You tend to find when you're happy as well, things flow better, and you probably end up with more money anyway.
Yeah,
that's my theory.
So true. It's the one that we're going by.
All comes from here. Which takes us, I think we've pretty much covered everything there. If anybody else has any suggestions, I mean, there is a million, we could go on all night about this subject, really. It's so extensive. And yeah, we've pretty much filled an hour talking about burnout. But yeah, if anybody has any experiences or any other kind of tactics that they use to dealing with it, I know kind of I could have covered therapies as well that help you, but it's basically things that you can implement on a personal level. Obviously, you can go out and seek outside help if you need to. We would never ever discourage that. You've got counseling, you've got cognitive therapy, you've got any form of holistic therapy, or you know, even doctor's visits if it's got to that critical point. But yeah, drop us a line and let us know what your experiences are, how you've dealt with it in the past.
Yeah, send us a message, put it in the comments, how you've dealt with it, how you haven't dealt with it, what your experiences have been, and what you've learned, because I mean, it is all, life is a learning curve, and mistakes or issues are there to be learnt from and going forward to try and avoid.
Absolutely. And that kind of leads us kind of comfortably on to this week's challenge.
Yeah.
So this week we are getting out the air dry clay because neither of us could find any plasticine, and we are going to be making mini morphs. Now, I don't know if anybody remembers Heartbeat, Tony Hart, but yeah, Morph, he was a cutie and a bit of a childhood hero. In his flexibility and kind of ability to morph into anything. But I suppose it's a bit of an analogy that you can kind of morph into, you know, into a different way of being if you live in that kind of awareness. So yeah, maybe that's a bit too deep a meaning.
Yes. But I'm so excited to create our own morphs. I've set up my camera
have you?
below, so that I can put on afterwards my making of morph.
Maybe I'll do that as well then. That's like a really good idea. I should have thought about this first. Right, let me get my camera set up. Phew. Oh, there were clowns. Don't like clowns. Not that good. Okay.
I'd just like to say I really did try.
It's hard in 5 minutes.
It's hard in blue tack.
Yeah. Wow, that's pretty cool. As I say, I will be investing more time in this. I really would love a proper morph to just stand on my windowsill and remind me of the good old days.
Mine now lives on my computer screen.
There's mine.
Oh wow, fantastic. It looks like a bit like the Michelin Man.
Yeah, it's a cross between the Michelin Man morph and Mr. Stay Puffed.
Yeah.
So.
I just love the facial expression. It's almost like, what? It's like, why am I existing?
That's a big question. Maybe we should do an exhibition of all these. It's kind of one of them philosophical. What is the meaning of this?
Oh dear, that's fantastic. It's funny how something so simple can be so hard.
Oh, absolutely, but so much fun at the same time. Just goes to show how much fun getting messy is.
Yes.
But yeah, we hope you all enjoyed that, and thank you so much for joining us again this week. We've had, despite it being quite a heavy topic, and there's been lots to it. Yeah, we've kind of, you know, we've really enjoyed covering it, and it's certainly given us a lot of food for thought ourselves. If you like the podcast, please don't be afraid to like, share, subscribe with all your followers. It helps. We're here to support you, but you know, it'd be great if you could support us and help us get the word out. Next week we have content creator and TikTok phenomena, Ricky Scully, hashtag, is it the Scully Dad?
The Scully Dad. You'll find him on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and any other socials he's probably on as well. He is fantastic. He's such a positive person. He's going to be so worth watching.
Absolutely. I think it'll be a lot of fun, and I think kind of covering that topic of content creation, and you know, especially kind of TikTok as a form of kind of getting things out there and building up your followers. I think that will be really enlightening too.
Completely. And if there's anything that in this video that has hit you and you thought someone needs to hear this, please make sure to share this video with them. And even if our advice just helps one person, that's all that matters. Yeah, and we really do hope this has been worthwhile. Absolutely. Thank you very much for joining us, and take care. Have a really good week, and we'll see you next week with the next episode. We'll see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye. Bye.